grinding at YouTube for 3.5 years before I made $1. And that only gave me a spot in the race to even attempt to be in the game. You never reach success. I'm just able to continue doing it. And that is the true success. I'm able to keep going. Like, that's the only goal, really.
Hey guys, in this episode I talked to Slew, or Sam Lewis. He's an art YouTuber that's been around for about 10 years. Sam had a pretty modest start. He started doing everything completely solo without any experience, and then eventually moved to a bigger studio in Brooklyn where he's able to host figure drawing classes, host a podcast, and also have a spot to do his larger paintings. In this episode we talk about how he managed to make YouTube his full-time living, and the importance of not waiting to start pursuing your dreams. Also, this episode is sponsored by me. If you're interested in supporting me, consider checking out the links to the courses in the description below. Everything I do is funded by me, so your guys' support really does help me make more content like this. Thanks, and enjoy the episode. I think a lot of people struggle with trying to finish projects and trying to get things done. And you know, you have built this like pretty substantial YouTube following, kind of off just doing your own thing and kind of like experimenting and doing crazy art projects kind of by yourself. And I guess I wanted to talk to you about like the act of like just starting, doing things without being entirely prepared, but also being able to monetize it and do it sustainably.
All my traits, you know, there's a lot that I could say that I'm not good at, or I thought I was good at, and then as I've gotten older, it was like, oh, I actually am not good at this. But one of the things I hold close to and attribute to a lot of my success is executing and just doing things and making things and doing it a lot. Just very simply, whatever it is. It happened to be like paintings and seeing through a creative project like a painting and then filming it and then seeing through the edit and then posting it and then doing that, you know, hundreds of times over the course of a few years. So whether the video or the painting was good or bad, it doesn't matter. I did it.
I meet a lot of people who are constantly in the like, I have to like constantly prepare, or I'm not ready to do this thing.
I hear it all the time too.
And it's like how do I find my style? How do I actually make stuff? And the answer is like, you just do it.
100%. You know? It's very torturously easy. You just have to do it for a long time and you get better. But, you know, I hear it all the time also. And it's what holds people back the most, I think, is like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough, or I want to try to get better before I start putting things out. If we're talking specifically about like social media or like building an online brand or business, they withhold putting things out. Or like I have so many examples of this for like kids who want to start companies. Let's say they want to like make sure their designs are perfect, or they want to make sure their promotion even for the product, like make an Instagram account, get good promo for the Instagram, all this stuff they want to prepare and organize in a row before they even put it out. When the truth of the matter, if you think systematically and like sort of logically, is like you put things out first, you do it as best as you can, and then you look back, you say, what can I do better, what worked, what didn't, and then you do it again. And then you look back at that, and then you say what worked, what didn't, and then you do it again. So the goal for everyone should be sort of just put things out, again, if we're talking about like social media and like business. But I get, you know, it's obvious that people get insecure, and they creative genres or creative outlets for people are more vulnerable, so it's harder for them to just like put things out. Like I get it, you know, it's obvious. Like, you know, especially if we're talking about like, even me, when I was making my first couple of videos of a camera, talking to myself with, you know, with a painting that I made, I was super nervous to put it out. And even after doing it for a year, I never posted it to my personal Instagram account because I was just nervous for people to like see me being vulnerable talking about painting when some of my friends and family didn't know I was that into it.
I mean, it seems like I'm getting into this stuff more myself, you know, after like working for Proco for a long time. I was kind of behind the scenes. I didn't have as much risk, and kind of like taking on more of the risk myself. I'm seeing how the fear never really goes away, you know?
Totally.
Like you were talking about how, you know, you're at this end of you're at the end of like some journey where you have this sick studio and you know you have a big following, and somebody might look at that as the like end of the journey. Yeah. Where you have made it, you're not anxious about stuff anymore. Yeah. But I'm sure now you're still. It's scary. It's still hard.
Yeah, it's different anxieties, but yeah, of course, I'm still like that's not the end. I mean, there's 100 different sort of rabbit holes we can go down now, but like, or in this conversation, like, yeah, you always want more. You want your business to do more. You want to get more views, and yeah, the studio, because people they just see from the outside, like, yeah, the studio is sick. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream for me. Yeah. It's a lot of responsibility, like we were just talking about, but also, if you dive into the weeds of my analytics, like my views aren't that good actually. Like actually for the past 8 months, my YouTube channel has been going really sort of downward. And I'll have a good video here and there and it will bring in people, but so that's like something people don't realize. And there's all these other things going around that, it's super fickle. I don't get nervous about putting my work out anymore. Like I do I'm lucky to do exactly what I want. So, and I've done it enough where like I'm pretty confident with what I make in terms of how I like it. It's more of the time allocation versus, and that affirmation. It's like, oh, I just put in like, 50 hours painting. I put in 40 hours editing a video and the video did bad. It's like, dang, I love the painting, but a lot of the intention of doing that project was to like benefit my YouTube channel and make money, because now I have this business, I have all these other responsibilities. So it's like, fuck, like regardless if people like it or not, which is great if they write nice comments, it's more of like, dang, I just wasted like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of time. Yeah. And it was fun, sure, but like I'm a little past the fun part. Like everything is fun, but like I'm not just, there's a lot of things I need to do. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but
no,
it's different for someone who like is just trying to build it. Right. And get views in general if they're not worried about the upkeep of their studio, and everyone has bills to pay, but like
there's that Bob Ross quote where it's something like, as long as you painted, you had a good day.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's like, that's not true. Like if you painted and you didn't make any money, then you don't get to paint anymore.
Exactly.
And I think that part of all this stuff is learning to overcome the fear and being okay with the failure as it comes, because it's going to keep coming.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So and that goes for both for people in my position right now, because like I said, there's been like a lot of months in the past, half year where like I do those week or 2 week long projects and I don't get sort of like the viewership I'm expecting. But I have never had a thought in my mind where I'm going to stop. It's always on to the next one.
Yeah.
Always, no matter how down in the dumps I am about it, So that's what is important, is to, and obviously, and it's funny, this goes to the cliche thing, but that's where like the passion comes, and intention. So like intention, pie chart, you need to make money, you need to be creatively fulfilled, you want to grow your brand, you want to experiment, you want to get new skills. Those are all things you could do within one painting project, one YouTube video. But for people that are like just starting out, their intentions are just, or a lot of people, their intentions are like, oh, this is an avenue to success, or this creative outlet is an avenue to make money, where that's like the wrong way to start, because you'll probably be let down and you'll probably not have good experiences, because to get lucky just starting out, it's slim, unless you're like really, really good and have like really good insight to maneuver over the year. But like the intention for most people with anything is just to do it because you want to, and try hard and, be smart about finding opportunities to take advantage of. But, like I almost relish in the days, is that the right word? Like I miss the days when I was just painting something I've never tried before, like a big stencil project, like this tattoo. I remember, and this is actually the one that like kind of blew my channel up in the beginning, but it was one of my favorite canvas projects, and there was no overarching reason why I was doing it. I just wanted to do a big painting project. I had free time, and it was 100% pure, like by me, for me, and I wanted to film a cool video about it. Up to that point, I was making $0 on YouTube and taking it so seriously. So my intentions were like pure, where now it's impossible to sort of get that purity. I still do projects that I love and want, and for just the pure joy, but there is so much more within the intention pie chart now than back then. Yeah. And my intention was never to make money. It was a pipe dream, obviously. If I could do exactly what I want with a pure joy situation and make money, of course, but it wasn't like a realistic pipe dream. It's like, oh.
And it goes both ways too. Like when you have the failures, you feel like quitting.
Yeah.
But when you have the successes, it's not like you're finished either. It's like inevitably you're going to hit a video and it's going to do really well, and the next is not going to do as well, and it's going to feel bad.
You just went through this.
Yeah. I for people that I've been making videos for 3 years, and I'm not a massive channel. I have like 7,000 subscribers now or something.
And also, let's just get this out of the way for a second. People are so concentrated on this subscriber. That has nothing to do with anything these days. It's just viewership, right? It's like monthly viewership. It's like, Stan or me, I have 340,000 subscribers, but my videos get like 10,000 views to like 60,000 views or sometimes more. So it's like, anyways,
Yeah.
that's just one of my pet peeves. My one pet peeve. It's like, it's just viewership. So you had a good video, you have 7,000 subscribers, but you had a video do 140 or something.
Yeah. Well, and it feels great. But then I released the next video and it was like, it was different and I was trying out something new and it didn't do nearly as well. It was like 600 views or something.
Yeah.
And I think that like if I was a little bit less experienced with the failure of my or the attempts of my past 3 years, I might have been like, oh man, like no one likes me, no one likes this next video, And I think the falling in love with the process and kind of doing what you want before everything else and figuring out the business stuff afterwards seems like the only way to actually keep the whole thing interesting and sustainable.
I mean, it's just like, I'm not some sensei master, but it seems all very logical and rational to understand the idea of like how to improve at anything. It's incremental, it's experimenting, it's doing that thing a lot to gather a bunch of information on what you like, what you're good at, what works, and then constantly doing it more to slowly improve. And so again, if we're specifically talking about like YouTube, or like growing a channel, or like getting good at drawing, like I'm just beating a dead horse. It's just like, you just gotta do it a lot. And the only way you're gonna do it a lot is if you like to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously, if someone was paying me $1 million to like pick up trash, I'd probably pick up trash, but I wouldn't fucking like to do it, but I'd do it. So if you're making a bunch of money, obviously it's going to help. And if you're getting a lot of views and people are screaming they love your work and things, that obviously helps. But, that's not realistic. And especially if you're starting out, you just got to do it a lot. And the only way to do it a lot is to be into it. And so I think a lot of people force it, like, again, this isn't, sometimes you don't know what you like and it goes back and forth. But you got to find out, okay, is this something I'm willing to put time and effort into? And if it is, then just have fun with it and experiment for like 2 years. And then if you get opportunities, like I said before, then resituate. But I mean, we're also just cursed, especially with short form. I mean, the world is just cursed with how fast things should happen, monetary success, viewership success. It's like people like want to do it for like 3 months and then they give up, or shorter, so it's like there's a lot of like horribleness in the world that like that perspective I think is sort of a little of a virus.
Yeah. Well, and I think that part of this is also just adapting to whatever medium that you're in, because like if we lived in an isolated environment, just ourselves, we might just paint, we might just do like the art that we want to do. But part of being a person, I think, beyond just the survival stuff, is commerce and having to say and do things that get people to watch and are entertained by you. And that compromise, I think, could be a little bit existentially scary, because you have to compromise like your soul or the thing that you would be doing otherwise. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, where like art brain and business brain are almost two completely different things, where the act of painting, you have to be completely out of it to do a good painting. And when you're making a video, everything has to be considered. And being able to jump between the two different mindsets, I think, is pretty complicated.
Totally. And it takes practice, but it's fun. It's like that. I like that. It's like you're switching between different hats like constantly, and it's fun and multitasking. But yeah, it's not for everyone. And like all these things I'm saying, like I don't want to sound like a know-it-all. Like I struggle with it all the time still. I mean, like even talking about learning new things and trying to get like quick validation or quick success, like I'm a victim of it also. Like with the podcast, I thought I was just gonna like be able to do that, and it was awesome for a lot of reasons, but it wasn't sustainable in a lot of the intention I put into it. Or even like short form, for example, like I haven't really like gone into it, and like it's a really great outlet. And if you're thinking of business, to like really sort of like start having like original short form content, all these things, I'm like, I don't want to do it. And I'm like being an old curmudgeon about it. So it's like to each his own. But yeah, I think and it's like, I keep thinking, it's like, how many times can you listen to successful people? Not that I'm that, but like I've listened to a zillion podcasts and everyone says the same thing. I think that's why I actually did what I did, because I would just listen to people be like, hey, you just got to do it a lot, and like you got to like get better and just like keep doing it. It's like, what's another tangible way to get that across? I don't know. You know, like how do you convince people to just like, you just got to work at it. You just got to get better. You just got to try. And if you don't want to continue, that's fine. If you get frustrated, then keep doing it. And if you get too frustrated that you want to stop, then you're not going to like make it. But it's like, you just got to keep going.
Yeah. Well, and just doing the work. And I think going like on a broader level, in the same way that people might study drawing too much before making paintings, they might study business too much before actually trying to make a business.
That's a great point.
Listen to too many fucking like Andrew Huberman podcasts or too many like businessy podcasts before, you know, they're thinking about like, what would Jeff Bezos do, you know, versus like, you know, how do you like edit a video to market something or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you never actually start and do anything. You just like think about it. That's the other thing that I always talk about is like, everyone has good ideas, you know, anyone can think about a path to take, or like, oh, this might be the best route. You know, anyone could think of like a mediumly unique version of that individual genre or painting or business or brand, but it's less than 1% of people who actually try it. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like everyone can talk and everyone can think about doing things, but not a lot of people start and actually execute consistently. And I get it, because it is a risk. If you don't have a disposable income, you know, like it doesn't make sense to start that and drop everything. That's why a lot of the people I know who have like transitioned sort of in their more adult life, sort of had a full-time job and then outside of it hustled and grinded, you know, which is like very realistic and sounds like the safe way to go. I was a little different because I had different circumstances, but like that's super realistic. And then if it does pick up after doing things for a while, then you can say, hey, I'm going to stop the full-time job and dedicate all my time to this. Still a risk, but with, you know, more confidence to continue sort of penetrating.
Yeah. And in the baby steps as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the person we were just hanging with was asking me like where my YouTube channel transitioned and like when I started to become full-time, and it's like, it was years, you know, there was no day or night. It was like a snowball over years. I was grinding at YouTube for 3.5 years before I made $1.
Yeah.
And that only gave me, we were saying before, that only gave me, you know, a spot in the race to even attempt to be in the game. You know, it's like I was just waiting in line for the actual line, you know, and then I was like, okay, I could try. So yeah, it's like looking back, you could pinpoint spots where like, oh, this was a big deal, or like this video was tangibly a big deal moment, but everything that led up to that was like years. And still now, it's like I'm still going up and down and trying to figure out what my next moves are and strategizing. So
yeah, well, and it takes a lot of work, and it's but you're still doing other freelance jobs.
Totally.
Yeah, just to like help pay the bills.
I'm taking videography, editing jobs for sure when the money's right, and like it's worth it for sure. I mean, there's no reason you know, if it's a quick job, like I almost idolize like the 9-to-5s or like in and out jobs, you know, where like you work really hard and then you get to stop working hard. Yeah. You know, that the part of the curse of us and these people who are in these positions are like, or for me at least, it's like I go to bed thinking of things I need to do, and some of it's exciting and dopamine filling, but a lot of it's just like worrying what I need to do, endless to-do lists. Wake up thinking that and go to sleep thinking that. You know, there is no off time. Maybe I'm not in my studio, but it's always running.
Being able to cope with those emotions is ultimately like what leads people to become the people that everyone looks up to. You know, it's like the ability to just push past that, you know, resistance or struggle or whatever you want to call it, to just go and do the work, like do the editing, do the filming, you know, do the creative thing, take little risks. Again, going back to the idea that I had a video that did well recently. If I stopped, there's no point in even doing that video in the first place, you know?
Exactly.
It's all about the next one.
Totally. It's always about the next one. And that's the thing. You never arrive. Like you're saying, you never reach success. You know, like I'm at a bigger scale than I am than when I started, but I wouldn't consider myself successful. I'm just able to continue doing it, you know, and that is the true success, is that I'm able to keep going. Like that's the only goal, really. It's like, it would be sick to buy a house.
Yeah,
It'd be sick to do all these things, but like the true goal at its core is just to keep it alive and maintain my freedom within.
Well, and I think it relates to drawing kind of like an existential sense, because you need so much faith at the very beginning of your art journey to even keep going.
Yeah.
Like to go into a place like the Watts or, some fancy art school and you see somebody doing this amazing work and they're 30 years in, it's like, oh, I have 30 years of work before I can even do that, And you're doing these, like student level drawings or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some amount of faith and optimism for the future in order to just keep going.
Yeah, and it's like, it's really nuanced. It's hard to like really exemplify what we're talking about, because we're talking very specifically about, my path, your path, our sort of world. But there, it's not all, how do I say this? It's not all doom and gloom. Like it's all very like low stress, low stakes. It's like just, and we're hyper focused because I like to talk about, and you like to talk about like the business side of it, which is important. But like there's so many ways to make money, and there's so many things to do. You just have to try things. And I think, I feel like so contradictory and hypocritical, but it's like you almost just have to like do a bunch of random things and then see what kind of works. Like if your goal is to be an art YouTuber, okay, there's a lot of things you could look up how to do it, how to get better, and you could sort of stay on that path for hopefully a long time and then eventually get there. But like if you just like art, or if you just like video making, like there's sort of like a fractal infinite amount of things to do those things. It doesn't have to become a YouTuber,
Like most people who are watching this are not trying to do what we're doing. They're trying to like make a comic book, or they're trying to like even just like go to work in the morning and just like do their graphic design job, or even their accounting job. And I think it's like whatever goal that you're working towards, there's like fundamental laws of just trying to be creative and accomplish things that carry over, whether it's YouTube videos or poetry or music or whatever. And pushing through it and taking risks and all that kind of stuff can make you like a lot more legit at your law firm or something.
Totally. I mean, you're just going to feel more confident. Also, the great thing about art specifically is like seeing yourself improve is pretty addicting. Like that was probably, especially, I mean, just improving at anything is like you want to just get better. I mean, it feels good, especially if it's something you want to do and you see yourself improving, you're like, I will never stop. If this is like the trend, I'm going to keep going. But like specifically for like the traditional oil painting, like my more graphic stuff back in the day I was getting better skills to make the art, but it wasn't really like a language. It was just like more puzzle engineering, like coming up with characters and understanding lighting and like the more fundamentals of drawing. But like entering the world of like traditional oil painting and like academic drawing, that was like super addicting, and I go towards that because there's so much sort of feedback loop of improvement. Like like you can really improve quickly, or it's challenging, and so when you do see yourself level up, you're like, oh yes, it feels great, and it's very self-gratifying. And that for a lot of people I think is all they need. They don't need the money. Like if you're just working a 9 to 5 and you want to make a comic book on the side, like during weekends, and you end up making a cool thing, you're going to feel good. So again, bringing it all back, you just got to start. You got to try because you're going to be amped. It's really hard to like put in a lot of effort. You got to be really, messed up to like put in a lot of effort in something and not feel good about it, especially if it's something you want to do.
We're both giant fans of like Way of Kings and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like journey before destination.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche, and it's
But did he trademark that?
I don't.
That's like a very normal thing. It's journey.
Like everyone says that.
Or like take the beaten off-road path or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a mantra of that.
Having 30 million subscribers is not the goal. Like if you had that tomorrow, you'd be ecstatic.
For sure.
For like a day.
But guess what? After 4 or 5 months,
your
new normal.
Yeah, a new normal. And
Which
I think
is psycho to think, but it's true.
Well, and trying to find, the love and the enjoyment and just like learning how to render a video, or paying attention to like sound settings or something and all that kind of stuff. Just trying to make the best thing you possibly can with the tools in front of you.
Totally. I mean, I don't know about you, but I watch my videos more than anyone. I mean, once they're out, it's done, but like I'm so excited for the most part making videos to like that's why I started, because I like to see the process of how things are made.
Yeah.
And then I like to make things. So I was like, oh, pretty obvious connection there. And so, yeah, it's like euphoria editing the video and seeing the video and like telling the story and watching it a million times. And then I don't, of course, but like it gets me amped.
It's not just like making something for an audience.
No, yeah. I mean, there's, again, that intention pie chart. Sure, it's for a little of that, but I need to like it first. You know, it's good a video I want to make.
Again, I think it always comes back down, to just doing the work and, just like, and it on a more existential level, again, going back to drawing, it's like go back to the fundamentals, study the spheres and cylinders.
Which I didn't. I mean, specifically, I need to literally do that because I skipped that. I tried to take the quick route.
Yeah.
And you could see it in a lot of my art and a lot of my videos. Even now, like my skills, like I skipped a lot of the fundamentals. Anyways, tangent, but yeah, you just gotta, slow and steady.
Yeah. Try your best.
Everyone's screwed though, with the advent of AI and everything instantly. I mean, we're already instant creatures, but it's hard. I mean, so you have to really, traditional media, art specifically, is like, it's almost foreign in how slow the practice is. Actual operation of drawing and painting, but also like the improvement loop and the gratifying, the self-gratification loop. So it's just a different sort of, perhaps, merry-go-round that a lot of people in their normal lives don't go to. But it's really desirable, and people are only getting more amped about it. Like, people are only getting more into drawing, I think. It's just like books.
Yeah.
You think like, oh, people aren't reading books anymore. Year over year, there's more books being made than the year before.
The crazy thing, I was talking to Stan. Stan's best year was last year.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
That's
right?
crazy.
It's insane.
That's really good. I mean, that's a good business.
Yeah.
Mine has not been like that. I've been really like this. Yeah. But again, the goal isn't to, I'm not in the scaling position per se. I'm more of like, how much better can I do of a job in my output?
Right.
Rather than like, I would like employees and things. But yeah, I got a question for you. Because I think something else that's important for fine art specifically, and I talk about this a lot at my figure drawing sessions, is like the rate at improvement. Everyone, it's not this, it's not I don't know what mathematical sine, cosine this is, like exponent. Yeah. It's plateauing. It's like stairs, I think, is more realistic. It's like you level up and then you do the same thing, you train really hard, and it's all the same. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? You're like, what the hell? I'm working so hard. But then you'll level up again. Yeah. And it will be a big level up. And I've felt and witnessed these in myself, and it's like, oh my gosh, you like something clicks and you level up and then you plateau again a lot. And I think that's really interesting. And it's more challenging, I think, to continue if it were different. If it was just like really obvious, super slow increasing, then it would be easier for people to keep doing it, because it's like, oh, it's almost a guarantee if I'm going to get better day over day. It's like every 6 months you get better. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Those things and those plateauing, I think it's like almost the universe telling you to stop caring so much about what's happening with other people, Yeah. Because the act of learning how to draw or learning how to do anything, play the piano, takes a lot of time and effort just being bad at it. It's like 99% bad. And I think the way to actually learn how to draw is to just step outside yourself as much as possible and just be okay with who you are as much as you possibly can, Yeah. And it's pretty humbling for people to like go into a place like the Watts or go into a place,
Dude, oh my God. I was literally felt like slapped in the face by God when I went in there.
Be really good at something and then to humble yourself in a way to actually go and do the work. I think that's the hard part. Like I think it's harder for me now to go and learn drawing than it was when I was in my early 20s. Because I was like, I have more things that I'm egotistical about now than I was,
I agree. Same with me. And I've sort of given up that hope of being like a really, really like high-end fine artist. Like I'm going to keep painting. I'm going to keep trying to push my skills, but my like expectations are a lot lower. And not to say that's like sad, but it's just like I have so many other things, and I don't really know where I'm going with that. But the comparison is the really, really hard part. Yeah. And in business, in your colleagues, and it is really hard. And obviously, the easy answer or what you should do is just focus on yourself, but
Yeah.
it's easier said than done. And it's like, how do you do that? You just got to know what you want to do. And if you're not doing it as good as you thought you were, then take a real look at yourself and say, how can I switch things up and do it better? One of my worst traits, and I could look back and hate myself for it, not actually, but like, is that I think I'm overconfident a lot. And I still am in probably a lot of ways, but how I did things is like, oh yeah, this is like how you do it the best, and I'm great at this, and I don't need to I don't need other people's feedback or opinions. And like I would take it, but I don't think I absorbed it.
Yeah.
And it didn't get like internalized. And only like years later did I realize like, oh wow, I actually, there's way better ways to do this. Or this is, this has actually been had doing wrong for a while, and I learned how to fix it way later than I should have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
yeah,
I have,
for sure.
as I've gotten older, I'm like, wow, I really need to like listen to other people's opinion about either my work, business structure, strategy, anything, so I was kind of like too tunnel vision in the beginning, and I was doing fine, so it was easy to do that. But I'm like, oh, I wish I had some more feedback.
Well, and again, going back to the very beginning of the conversation, there's a balance there, because if you listen to too much feedback, then you just never do anything.
Totally.
And I think it's like...
Or you never do things, you never learn for yourself.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's helped, like the thing that I tell people is like, I made a point of like surrounding myself with like what I perceive as like the best art teachers and business people. Pretty
literally, you did that.
And it's like, it didn't make me want to draw more. It actually like discouraged me, because it's like so much to live up to. And it's like... it's an internal thing. I'm not trying to blame those people, but I think that trying to get your motivation structures in your brain working takes a lot of just operating at your own level, like not looking up or down or wherever for motivation, just looking like, oh yeah, this is what I can do.
Yeah, and like this is obviously not an exact example, but what probably would have been better than surround yourself with Jeff and Proco, even though that is extremely valuable. Let's not be naive. What would probably have helped you more is if you surround yourself with equal hungry people to get better.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That are grinding with you at the same level to improve.
Yeah.
Rather than just, proximity to the best.
Yeah.
And that's hard. You need to get friends. You need to get like-minded people. That's where like the communities are important. But
right. Well, and like it's part of the reason I lived in the van too. It's just like, it's like, to try and step outside of all that hero worship and just kind of just do my own thing.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about this is like, there are so many different versions of success, and we can look at someone like Jeff or Stan or whoever as being these like paradigms of what it means to be like a YouTuber or a fine artist or whatever. But ultimately it's about like, like you can be successful in completely different ways, doing the opposite of what they would tell you to
100%.
do.
Absolutely. I mean, can't imagine, I mean, I can because I just filmed a documentary on Stan, but like everyone's looking up to him or this in this example, and Jeff, but like they're probably also looking outside and looking like, oh, what can I, so it never ends.
Yeah.
And yeah, I go back, it's like, again, it's so easy to say these things, and you've heard these people rant about like this so much, but what are the tangible ways? What are the real in-person ways to, stop comparing, become more disciplined, patient? It's like, I don't know. You got to find out for yourself. Everyone's different, whether it's like exercising, working out,
making YouTube videos,
being grateful, learning, talking with people. You're really good at connecting with artists. Like, you connect artists, but I think you're also just like open to talking with anyone, and that's probably a good trait to have, because I think if you want to become Jeff Watts the best, you gotta only listen to one person do things one way, but that's not for everyone. If you want to get a bunch of perspectives and try a bunch of different things and then find what works, you have to, be more in your corner of.
Well, and again, I think it just comes down to what you want personally and what you want to do. And I think that for me, my version of small successes started out as doing things on Proco's channel and then seeing those do well and being like, okay, all I have to do to figure out that stuff doing well on my own channel is just doing the work. So it's, figuring out.
Right. You understood the formula.
Yeah.
You just had to try it. Conversation for a different time is, how do I find out what I want to do?
Yeah,
what I mean? Because that's what a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
what to actually do in the first place. What do they actually like? Which is perhaps episode 2.5.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I come to New York next. Yeah.
But that's a real thing. Cause like, I mean, that's what kids deal with in college. You know, they're forced to pick what they want to do with their life. It's like, what the fuck? How would you ever know at 18?
Yeah. Well, and for you, it was painting, and then it turned into video making.
But it was always video making, and it was always just like what I was into. I had YouTube channels about skateboarding, about fingerboarding, about video games, about Nerf guns.
Yeah.
And so video was just a appendage of what I was into. Graffiti was the next thing, and that just snowballed, and I kept the channel the same. I did graffiti, and then I did street art, then I did murals, and then that was canvases and painting and then traditional artwork. And so that was the lineage. But yeah, it's always just what I've been into. And you know what? Maybe I won't be painting in 5 years. Maybe I'll just do enough and be excited, and I'll find something else that I'll be into. Who knows? You know, I'm not beholden to the sacred idea of painting or anything. It's just, you know, why would I do anything that I don't want? Again, money is involved. Yep. You sometimes have to do what you don't want to do. But if I have the ability to be free, why would I drown in painting content if it wasn't working anymore?
Yeah.
If I didn't like it also, I'm saying.
Well, and part of it, again, I think it goes back to not tying your identity to being a painter.
Yeah,
or an
exactly.
artist, and just doing it, following the interest. And
exactly.
I've been reading a lot of Rick Rubin. Yeah, and him talking about how if you have 2 options or 5 different options, and one is more efficient financially and the other has more interest, always choose the one with more interest, because in terms of just pure longevity and the ability to make something that people care about, it's actually probably going to make more money.
You're right. Yeah.
You want to tell people just a piece of advice, something you would recommend to your 20-year-old self?
We could break down the idea real quick of executing something and following through with it.
Yeah.
Whether you don't do it again, but I was very sort of, pragmatic and organized with a project. Before starting, I knew what I wanted to make. I prepared what I needed and how to make said thing. And then I worked hard and was patient to maintain a level of quality to make that thing. And through that, there's so many times you want to stop or you think it's shitty or people won't like it. But I always kind of finish. So I think executing is really important. And I don't know what the Webster definition of executing is, but seeing something through, go the whole yard and have the same sort of focus throughout the whole thing. And I don't know. The advice is
just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, right. Shia LaBeouf.
You want to tell people how to follow you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm Slew. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe to Christian because he is really tapping into awesome artists and getting their perspective. So I think that's valuable. And whether you're getting 600 views or 6 million, there's at least a few real people who are benefiting from this. So I think keep going.